The room is dark. The kind of dark where the only light is the screen, face down on his chest. He is 28, married, a worship team member, and it is 2 a.m. on a Monday. The Sunday he just came from is still in the collar of the shirt on the floor. He sat under the sermon 11 hours ago and said amen. He took communion with the same hand that just did the thing again. He stands up slowly and walks past the hallway mirror without looking. The Bible his wife gave him last Christmas is open on the kitchen counter, exactly where he left it that morning. He cannot remember the verse anymore. He can remember the search bar. This is the man Jesus had in mind when he climbed the hill carrying a cross. And here is what most Christians do when they hear the 7 deadly sins. They never picture themselves inside the warning. They never picture the Christian who closed a Bible an hour ago and opened something else. They never picture the version of themselves that came home tonight and did the thing again. The 7 sins God hates most are not historical curiosities. They are 7 gates. 7 of every 10 believers walk through every week. And God hates them so much that he sent his son to die under their full weight. The man in the dark room is not the exception. He is the one this video is for. Pride. A worship leader closes his eyes on stage and feels something move through the room. He calls it anointing. It is applause with a Christian filter on it. Pride is the original sin, the one Lucifer fell with before there was a human heart to ruin. It wears the face of ministry better than any other costume in the closet of hell. Before this becomes a sermon about a famous pastor, stay with the version of you who craves the comment, the like, the seen by others moment. Pride is not just thinking too highly of yourself. Pride is needing other people to confirm what you already secretly believe. It hides in the way you tell the testimony, the way you mention the fast, the way you wait to be noticed for the thing you said you did in secret. The cost is invisible until the day you stand before God and realize the audience you were performing for never gave you a single thing that lasts. Here is where it gets heavier. The reason your prayer life has felt dry for months is because you have been performing for an audience that was never God. Jesus, the only being in the universe who had a legitimate right to demand glory, walked out of the tomb on Sunday morning and went looking for the friends who had abandoned him on Friday. He did not call a press conference. He cooked them breakfast. That is the death of pride, and it is the only death that ever actually killed it. Humility is not pretending you are nothing. It is finally letting Jesus be everything. Envy. A woman is awake at midnight, scrolling through pictures of a wedding she was not invited to. She tells herself she is happy for them. She is not. Envy is not wanting what they have. Envy is the moment your heart secretly accuses God of being unfair for giving them what he did not give you. Cain killed his brother over a sacrifice God preferred, and the sin that put the knife in his hand still has a comment section. Do not move this to someone shallow. The person Cain represented sat in a pew last Sunday wearing your shoes. Envy makes the blessings of others feel like personal insults. It is why you cannot rejoice when the friend gets the promotion, the marriage, the baby, the breakthrough you have been praying for. It is why your worship feels different on the weeks they post good news. Every time you scroll past a blessing that did not belong to you and feel that bitterness, you are filing a charge against God in a courtroom only you can see. The man who rose on the 3rd day owned nothing on this earth, no house, no savings, no platform, no crown that men recognized. He is the inheritance envy cannot touch, because no one can take him from you, and no algorithm can hand him to someone else. Gratitude is not pretending you are fine. It is finally believing what God already gave is enough. Stay with that one longer than feels comfortable. Wrath. A father slams a door so hard the picture frames move. The kids in the hallway flinch without making a sound. He tells himself he is just stressed. Wrath is the moment you sit on God's throne for 30 seconds and decide who deserves what. It is not always the explosion. Sometimes it is the silent treatment that lasts a week, the cutting sentence delivered with a smile, the quiet decision to remember. This is not the abuser on the news. This is the version of you who replays the argument in the shower and wins it every time. The replay loop in your head is a courtroom where you are the judge, the prosecutor, and the executioner, and God is not on the bench. Every replay is a small idolatry. Jesus stood in front of the men who put nails through his hands and said, "Peace be with you." That sentence is the death of every replay loop you have ever run. He did not deliver the speech you would have delivered. He breathed peace on people who had earned wrath. Patience is not weakness. It is finally trusting that the judge of the earth will do right, and stepping down from a chair you were never qualified to sit in. What you just felt is not conviction trying to crush you, it is conviction trying to find you. Sloth. A man tells his small group he is in a season. He has not opened his Bible in 11 months. He calls it rest. Sloth is not laziness. Sloth is choosing the couch over the kingdom and finding a Christian word for it. You did not stop praying because you got busy. You stopped praying because somewhere along the way, you stopped believing it was doing anything. The drift did not happen on a Tuesday. It happened in slow degrees, over a year of yeses to comfort and noes to obedience. The drift you keep promising to fix tomorrow is exactly how lukewarm believers end up on the wrong side of the door Jesus warned about in Matthew 7. The same Spirit who raised Christ out of a sealed tomb is the Spirit who can pull a stalled believer off the couch tonight. That Spirit is not somewhere far away. He lives inside every believer who is willing to stop pretending and start asking. Diligence is not a productivity hack. It is the natural fruit of a man who finally remembers what he was rescued from. You do not need a better schedule. You need to be raised again from the slow death you have been calling normal. Greed. A man tithes 10% on Sunday and lies awake on Tuesday counting the other 90. He calls himself a steward. His prayers are mostly about provision. Greed is not the love of money. Greed is putting your trust in something that can be lost. Paul said the love of money is a root, and roots are invisible until the storm shows what they were anchored to. This is not the billionaire on a yacht. This is the believer who panics when the rent is late and forgets that the same God fed Israel in the wilderness. The reason your faith fluctuates with your bank account is because money has been your God longer than Jesus has been your Lord. That is a heavy sentence, and it is supposed to be. Jesus emptied himself of everything heaven owed him, owned no house on earth, and walked out of a borrowed tomb in borrowed grave clothes. That is the only economy that survives the day you die. Generosity is not a tax strategy. It is the proof that your security has finally moved from your account to the cross. You will not stop being greedy by giving more. You will stop being greedy by trusting more. Lust. The same man from the beginning of this video is still in the dark room. The phone is still face down on his chest. The shame is still wet on his face. Lust is not weakness. Lust is the heart practicing for a kingdom Jesus did not die to give you. It is the most discussed sin in the comment section of every Christian video and the most undiscussed sin at most dinner tables. This is not the addict in a documentary. This is the believer who said the prayer, said it again, and is still here at 2 a.m. You have asked God 100 times to take this away, and the silence is not because he stopped listening. It is because you keep negotiating with what you said you wanted dead. That is the sentence most Christian content will not say to you, and it is the sentence that sets you free. The man who walked out of the tomb has the power to break what no software, no accountability partner, and no shame spiral has ever been able to break in you. He did not die for you to manage this sin. He died for you to be raised out of it. Chastity is not white-knuckle restraint. It is a heart that has finally tasted something better than what the screen is offering. Read that last sentence again before you let your mind run anywhere else. Gluttony. A woman stands at the kitchen counter at 1 a.m. She is not hungry. She is eating anyway because something inside her is screaming, and food is the only voice that will go quiet. Gluttony is not just overeating. Gluttony is using a created thing to do what only the Creator can do. This is not just the eater. This is the scroller, the drinker, the binger of shows, the believer who runs to anything but God when the ache shows up. It is the third drink. the 8th episode, the 2nd hour of TikTok, the bag of chips that was supposed to be 3. Every time you reach for the thing that numbs you, you are telling God His presence was not enough. And you are right, because you have never sat in His presence long enough to let it be. Jesus broke bread the night before He was broken. The body that was broken for you is the only thing that ever actually fills the place you keep trying to feed. Temperance is not a diet. It is a soul that has finally found a fountain that does not run dry. You do not need willpower. You need to come to the table you keep avoiding. So here is what most Christians will do tonight. They will close this video. They will go back to the same dark room. They will tell themselves tomorrow. And the cross is still standing. Pride dies on a hill outside Jerusalem, and the cross is still standing. Envy loses its power the moment you see what was nailed to that beam, and the cross is still standing. Wrath gets unseated when you watch the innocent one forgive his executioners, and the cross is still standing. Sloth gets shaken awake when you remember what the Spirit who raised him is doing inside you right now, and the cross is still standing. Greed loses its grip when the only treasure that survived the grave starts looking like the only treasure worth keeping, and the cross is still standing. Lust and gluttony both die at the same table, the one where Jesus says, "This is my body broken for you," and the cross is still standing. The 7 sins God hates most are the 7 sins Jesus carried up a hill on a Friday afternoon. The empty tomb on Sunday morning is the receipt that says the bill is paid in full for anyone who will finally stop trying to pay it themselves. You are not too far gone. You are exactly the person the resurrection was for. Comment below which one of these 7 hit you hardest tonight, and let this community pray for you by name. If this video found you in the dark room, share it with someone else sitting in one, and subscribe to Woke Faith, because real talk and raw truth about the gospel of Jesus Christ is the reason this channel exists.